Baby Reindeer, Darrien. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The Netflix series Baby Reindeer has certainly caught the public imagination, not least because of its content, but also the real-life repercussions in relation to the outing of Fiona Harvey as purportedly the person that Martha is based on. We've been treated also to the complexities of the victim, Richard Gadd, who not only was stalked and abused by Martha, but also has found himself as a victim of abuse from another character, a character called Darrien. Certain people have pointed out that there has been a particular focus on Martha, but less so with regard to a character who is perhaps regarded as even more sinister than Martha, Darrien. Richard Osman has suggested that those in the industry know full well who this person is, but so far nobody has been outed. There have been a couple of individuals who have come forward as a consequence of speculation that they have received to explain that they are not the person concerned, and that's something that Richard Gadd has confirmed also, not wanting them to be tarred with the suggestion that they were his abuser. But largely, the information and speculation as to who Darrien is nowhere on this level of scale as experienced in relation to Martha, although, of course, the fact that Fiona Harvey outed herself is a considerable difference in that regard. Darrien doesn't appear as much in the series Baby Reindeer as compared to both Martha and Donnie. Nevertheless, his impact is not to be underestimated. We meet him in episode 4 as a consequence of a return to past matters, which enables us to understand more about why Richard Gadd is who he is. The impact of Darrien's behaviour towards him is substantial, and of course I'll be examining that in the analysis of Richard Gadd. Now let's recap upon the behaviours of Darrien. I do this, of course, as a consequence of the necessity of scrutinising all of the evidence that we're provided with in relation to the way that he has behaved to enable analysis to be undertaken. Once again, it is important to mention that this information is not being provided from the position of a neutral third party, but is the recollection of Richard Gadd. That isn't to suggest that Richard Gadd is lying, but it is sensible to make the point that these are his recollections, and as a consequence of that, they may well be subjected to conscious and unconscious reframing of events. It's also important to emphasize as well that the information as provided is in the context of a television show, which means that certain activities may have been conflated, that they may have been portrayed in a particular way to serve a purpose for dramatic effect, story arc, characterization, and so on and so forth. And you ought to keep those matters at the back of your mind in relation to the assessment of the evidence that you're about to hear. If you haven't watched the series, be aware that this is going to contain spoilers. You're duly warned. And now let us examine the role of Darrien. In the 4th episode, Donnie goes back in time, and he is attending the Edinburgh Fringe. It's quite clear that his comedy is god-awful. He doesn't do particularly well, and a sympathetic landlady at the pub where he is performing provides him with a private member's card that has been left. He takes it up and attends, clearly in an attempt to try and find people whereby it might pursue his career. In the course of standing in the bar, he attempts to engage the writer of one of his favourite shows, but he's rejected by this individual, and this portrays Donnie as something of a loser, looking to try and gain the favour and interest of other people. In that rejection, he suddenly finds a man stood next to him talking to him. This is Darrien O'Connor. A conversation takes place between the two of them. Darrien is very measured in the way that he talks, calm. He is supportive, whereby he recognises what has just happened in relation to Donnie and offers sarcastic observations in relation to the man that had just dissed him, although it actually causes Donnie to criticise the writers of a show when Darrien reveals himself also to be a writer. From the very beginning, he almost sets a trap for Donnie, which he walks straight into. Donnie continues with his show, and Darrien then attends at that particular pub to watch him. On this occasion, the audience is much more receptive, and afterwards, Donnie always stands by the door with a bucket with the expectation of people offering some money to him. Hitherto, there are occasions where he received nothing, or on one occasion, he remarks about having received a button and a condom. As Darrien is departing, he gives him £20, which Donnie is clearly thrilled with. This would appear to be some kind of bribery, perhaps, or is it just simple appreciation of his act? It does seem overly generous given the fact that Donnie's act isn't actually that good or that funny. Along with passing him the money, which clearly gains his attention and appreciation, Darrien provides him with a card and suggests, why don't we talk to take the show to the next level? This, of course, is manna from heaven for somebody like Donnie, absolutely desperate to pursue a career in comedy, to pursue a career perhaps in comedy writing. The possibility of being involved with somebody who might be able to give him a leg up, somebody who was involved in a show that he admires, is something that completely bowls him over. Is this an act of generosity from a decent person who recognises some potential in Donnie and thinks, I'll help him? Alternatively, is it perhaps just some future faking, the suggestion of, I'll help you, but it's just being done to draw Donnie in? Alternatively, is this somebody who understands and recognises the desperation that can scent the vulnerability of Donnie, who is able to smell his desire and desperation to make it in the world of comedy, and sees that this individual is ripe for exploitation? They meet up, and Darrien provides advice on what to do in relation to his show at the Edinburgh Fringe. He clearly has some talent. He clearly understands the industry. And in so doing, he seeks to influence Donnie to improve his offering. His suggestions go down well, and the show's flourished. Was this an altruistic act on the part of Darrien, recognising some raw talent that just needed moulding and shaping, that somebody who's generous with his time? Or is he investing in Donnie for an alternative purpose? Is it that he's flexing his talent in order to create a debt between Donnie and himself, to cause him to think that I am grateful to Darrien? He has picked me out of nowhere with a floundering show, and he has given me time, that he's given me attention, that he's a good and sound bloke, and I'm really grateful that he's taken an interest in me. Somebody such as Donnie does come across as a perpetual victim and loser. And is it the case that Darrien is adept at identifying this and then exploiting it by the supposed generosity of time and talent? For every show, Darrien continues to turn up, and then thereafter the two of them would go out drinking in the private members' bar. Donnie clearly laps up this attention. Here is a talented and well-regarded writer-producer, and he's getting this involvement. He can't believe his luck. He's lapping it all up. They discuss what to do with the shows when the festival is over. It's clear that Donnie very much behaves like an individual who's been starved of attention, and that the involvement of Darrien is really something that excites him. You also have to consider that objectively, Donnie is a shit comedian. His show is awful. It isn't funny. Therefore, why would Darrien get involved with him? Is it because he truly believes it could be turned around and turned into something fantastic? Or is it because he has an ulterior motive? Interestingly, in these initial meetings, Darrien describes himself as a Buddhist, a polyamorous pansexual with a taste for the finer things in life. He clearly has a high opinion of himself, which might suggest high traits of vanity and pride. Being polyamorous is also suggestive of a lack of boundary recognition and a sense of entitlement. The two take drugs together. Might this be Darrien simply indulging in some hedonism with Donnie, or might it be the case that what's actually happening is that he's testing whether there is an appetite for drug taking, that he is carefully and cynically working out the boundaries of Donnie with the purposes of ascertaining how far those boundaries can be pushed. What are his appetites? How can he cater to them? How can he utilize those appetites in his favour? Darrien then dangles another tempting morsel in front of Donnie by suggesting, "We need to get you writing scripts with me." This, of course, causes Donnie to light up with excitement. And he is very interested in being involved with someone who evidently has standing in the industry and has picked little old Donnie. Darrien then returns to London early, and Donnie doesn't hear from him, which leaves him feeling something of a gulf. Already, in a short period of time, Darrien has managed to insert himself into the life of Donnie, offering him promises of future gain, causing him to believe that he has talent and that he's special, offering assistance and help, and delivering in that regard in respect of making the show better. Are these all the actions of an individual that has the interests of Donnie at heart, who simply wants to see him succeed? Or are we watching somebody grooming a hapless and naive individual who has got victim stamped on his forehead? Well, we're going to learn more about the behaviours of Darrien as we move through the analysis of his conduct in part 2. Join me there.